First of all, Asif, thank you so much for having me. It's Indeed, it was always a pleasure to be speaking, especially when you're addressing the young people, especially the young ladies. Well, my name is Ameenah Gurib-Fakim, and I have served as the sixth president of my country, the Republic of Mauritius. And prior to this, I was an entrepreneur and prior to being an entrepreneur, I was also a professor at the University of Mauritius, where I have the great privilege of serving as Dean of Faculty and also as the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University. I'm a scientist by training, and what I did is that I leveraged my research, which was on herbal knowledge, traditional knowledge, into an enterprise with the view of generating innovative molecules for industry. So that is, in a nutshell, my resume. Well, technically, I am a three-time retiree, but because I took leave of absence, eventually I retired from my position at the university. Then also I had to give up also my entrepreneurial journey to become the president of the Republic. And once you are retired from the presidency, you can't technically work. But I'm quite active on the international space, and I'm very involved with many areas and also advice. And I do a lot of public speaking, and I travel quite a bit to many international fora. I've just come back from Sevilla, where we had the funding for development, the recent after 10 years. And I also write, because I have been writing quite a bit during my journey, all the way up to the presidency. And quite a few of my books need re-editing, so I'm also doing that. The most important challenge anyone in my shoes could have faced is the fact that you're a woman. That's already a big challenge, because whether it's in leadership or whether it's any position of authority, society is not ready for women. Let's be very clear about this. And yet we know that we need women. We need women at the decision-making table, because whenever a woman has been at the decision-making table, the decision really works, not just for the community, for the family, for the country, and for society at large. And yet women are being elbowed out of that space. Women do things differently, so any economy cannot deem to prosper if we are going to systematically reduce or not involve 52%. So we need a culture of really empowering the woman, not just because if you look at my country, my country education became free in 1976, and this has been the empowerment of all empowerment. Because when a family feels that they don't have to decide whether to educate a boy and a girl and both can have equal opportunity, that really makes a big change to society at large. Really, almost an absence of women, especially in the political field. And there are many reasons for that. And now with the power of social media, with the power of media generally, online media, we find that it has also become a fantastic opportunity for those detractors who really want to demonize women. And it's being used, of course, massively. And now with the advent of AI, with the advent of AGI, God knows what's going to happen when you don't like it, when you don't want her to be in that space, how you can demonize her. So this is something that we have to be very, very wary about and careful, and also have to address it, because I said, if you don't bring in that 52%, no economy can even dream of succeeding without the talents of the girls and the women in the country. I grew up in a very small village in Mauritius. Of course, as you know, Mauritius is already very small. And I grew up in a family. I had, of course, my late parents. They were very keen on their children, my brother and myself, to get education. Why I insist on this? Because when I was growing up, education was not free. But they made that choice, and they made sure that the daughter and the son get an education. I grew up in a small village where there was not much, but I grew up in a small village which I consider to be the microcosm of the world. And I grew up in a very diverse environment. And this has helped me a great deal when I left my country. Of course, when I left my country, I was the first girl, I was the first young woman to leave my village. And that was already a very big step. But my father believed in me all along, and he has been my fantastic cheerleader. And I must say that at that time, I wouldn't have made it if it hadn't been for him. And my mother, of course, was, of course, the bedrock on our family. And so he gave me that opportunity. I finished my secondary education in Mauritius. Then I went to university in the UK. And I chose chemistry. Why chemistry? Because I went to a common school, and there I was infected by the virus of science by my teachers, who were very good, motivated, and who could answer, of course, all the silly questions that an 11 inquisitive-year-old could have. And so I went and studied chemistry because I was so passionate about it. Then in 1983, I came back with a degree in chemistry. And I went to the University of Exeter and did a PhD in organic chemistry because I was still fascinated by the chemistry of carbon, which at the end of the day, of course, is the chemistry of life. And then I decided to come back for a holiday. And my mother said to me, are you going to go out again? Because I had a postdoc all lined up in the United States. And I stayed behind, and I made a career at the University of Mauritius. And at the university, I was still looking for that chemistry. But of course, I was completely disenchanted when I joined the university because the infrastructure wasn't there. So I had to create my own space. And I went back to the chemistry. I went back to analytical chemistry because I was started studying the chemistry of plants. Why plants? Because Mauritius is a biodiversity hotspot. So I went into analytical, probed the world of plants, got some fantastic molecules published. But then I fell into the pot of medicinal plants because there was a project which was around at the time, a regional project. There was funding coming from the European Union, not the European Union at the time because it didn't exist. It was the European Development Fund. I created the lab that I needed to be able to do my work. And then I climbed the ladder, and I became the very first woman professor in my university in 2001. Then I became the dean of faculty. I climbed the administrative ladder, and then I became the deputy vice chancellor. I was denied the post of vice chancellor, but that didn't deter me. I took leave of absence because I had met an entrepreneur before. Now, having said this, it's not easy because the ecosystem for that took the leap, and I have no regret. And then in 2014, while I was busy minding my own business, looking after my own little enterprise, my name was put forward for presidency. And I said to the people who were proposing me, I said, look, I have no idea what this is all about. My family has never been political, but to serve my country at the highest level, I said, why not? Lo and behold, they won with the landslide, and I became president in June of 2015.
So look at, from your story, we can really connect, we need to connect with our roots. We cannot forget our roots. We cannot forget our parents. Look at, thankfully, thanks to God that you had a very good support and good core values that you embraced from your family. And that was your foundation, laid your foundation to move forward, to take a lot of brave initiatives and brave decisions in your life and inspiring a lot of people. Absolutely fantastic, and hats off to your parents, and that's the way I believe.
I must say also, while my parents, my father especially, had been there when I was very young, when I joined, of course, the professional life, I had the support of my husband and my family, because they always say that behind the success of every man there's a woman, but behind the success of every woman there's a family. And so as well, my parents were there when my children, because I'm also a mother and a wife. And my parents have been there to provide the support vis-a-vis my children who were growing up, while I was, of course, busy traveling and doing all sorts of things. And again, this is something that women have to be made aware that if they want a career and they want to have a family, they need house help. Without the house help, it was going to be very, very difficult because the quality time that you need to focus on your work and, of course, whatever you believe in, will not be there if you don't have house help. So they need that house help to be able to move forward. I have joined several organizations, of course, with the focus of driving, because it has been my mantra all the time, and I will do it again, and I keep on doing it, mentoring. But there's one thing that I really would like to see being pushed forward is the need to empower the youth of Africa to become real entrepreneurs. And this is what I did. And when you become an entrepreneur, you can create jobs for other people. Why, again, this matters? Because by 2050, 1 in 4 working age adult will be African. So that is a huge, number of young people who will be out there, because I have been a beneficiary of this by virtue of my motivated teachers who have helped me all along. So, try to mentor these girls and also try to leverage in the diaspora that we have so that they can also become mentor to these young girls growing up. And also, at the end of the day, my success will really be the advancement of these young people. Because if there is a girl growing up in my village right now, she can dream and say, me too, I can do it because she's done it before me. And so that's the message I have. It's not so much a personal success, while it is to some extent, but I think it's much more than this. It's how you project this to the society at large and allow others to dream. Because if you cannot if you can't dream big, that means that dream is that vision that you have is not good enough. So you have to be able to dream very, very big, and your size of your dream must scare you.
Yeah, why not? And that's why I used to say dream big and impact it. Because your dream, once you make it happen, it's going to impact the largest scale, larger number of people to this world. So, ma'am, we're now in the final note. We'd like to just know from you, what is your closing statement for the youth?
The closing statement, there's quite a few, but I think, as I've said, dream big and let the size of your dream scare you. And also, never give up. You may go through a lot of dark phases in your life, but always pull your socks up and smile and just move along. And make sure all the time that whenever you have gone through a bad patch, whenever there has a dark period, make sure that your recovery is V-shaped. You can't get better than that.
Absolutely. And that's why I used to say two things, like I often used to say to the youth, that love yourself to be loved by others, and believe yourself to be believed by others. Because if you don't love yourself, how come you expect that others will love you? If you don't believe yourself, how come you expect that others will believe you? Thanks a lot, man, for your time. And I'm sure if your stories and if your words, if it inspires single soul in the world, that's massive, and that's our level of satisfaction. And thanks a lot for your time. And I can't thank you enough. Thanks for your time and again. And wish you all the good luck and be with us as inspiration. We need good souls like you, and you can be the greatest passion made for any youth for future.